The Sentinel, the hard anchor, the carry of the defensive side. An impenetrable wall for the attack to slam their heads against over and over. At least, that's what we want it to be. All too often, it can feel like our Sentinel games are just retake simulator. In a game where there's just so much exec util, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed even on hardstyle Sentinels like Killjoy or Vice. But what if I told you there's a VCT player whose style of Sentinel really emulates that hardstyle style that we want out of these agents? I'm talking, of course, about none other than the Sentinel player of 2025 Gen G and ex-flex of DRX, Foxy9. At the start of Gen G's year, Foxy had some trouble refining this style of play, which in part led to a disappointing start to the team's year after their incredible reign in 2024. But in Stage 1, he really found his footing, and by Masters Toronto, Foxy was defining a new way of playing Sentinels like Killjoy and Deadlock on the global stage. Today, we're going to look at Foxy and Gen G's dominance on their strongest map of this year, Haven, and learn how Foxy reinvented Killjoy play on this map, as well as how Gen G brought back a comp that had almost been long forgotten. To do this, we're going to look at one of the toughest matches they'd face on the global stage all year, against a familiar face and an even more familiar comp, Fnatic. In the first round of Masters Toronto's playoffs, this game is Gen G's first real test to their mettle on the international stage. Let's see how they cooked. This map, Gen G are playing into a familiar comp from Fnatic. A brawly, double duelist setup of Yoru and ISO, backfilled by Cypher, Sova, and Omen. On the attacking side, Fnatic like to use their Omen smoke, early Sova dart, and early Yoru util to control information around A, before pivoting into mid or C. Their comp is especially good at brute forcing its way through Garage thanks to ISO's double tap and Yoru's clone, which will be one of the main challenges for Gen G and especially for Foxy. Meanwhile, Gen G have a very different take on the map. With two controllers and a harder stall Sentinel and Killjoy, their comp leans much more into denying info and keeping consistent stall all across the map to deal with execs. For Gen G, this basic game plan revolves around the active style Foxy uses to hold down Garage through the round. This in part relies on Munchkin's default Viper setup, which enables Foxy to remain active in this frontside space long into the round and makes anchoring A nice and easy. Gen G's style on defense is all about avoiding playing retake as much as possible in favor of a hard choke, control-based approach. Coming into the second half and Gen G's defense, the scoreline is not looking too hot for the Korean squad. Gen G have their work cut out for them if they want to bring this one back and put themselves up to start off the series and their run through playoffs. Here's how they make it happen. First up, let's look at the pistol. Given the importance of this round, Gen G are running something a little different to their typical default. Foxy's at A, playing a turret for early information in front B, and his alarm bot and molly for long while he tucks for an early fight in short. Meanwhile, the rest of the team are all here. It's a 4-man fight down main C to set up a potential fast flank or catch a player slow defaulting. The plan for Fnatic is to play a more typical default. They're leaning A for early info with their default start util, but have Kron and Boaster holding for pushes or to give the team options in other lanes of the map. Foxy actually doesn't see even a single player this round, but we're going to see that the way he plays around the macro of the round still enables his team to win out as well as his setup. As we start up, Fnatic spend a smoke in short A and they dart in long to fight into that space, while Gen G creep their way through C. The unsuspecting Boaster is quick to fall, and Fnatic's response is to speed up at A and develop their pressure there in reaction. Since Boaster has just seen a million players in long C and front B is still covered by Foxy's turret, Gen G go for the full rotation towards A in a Deathball formation once Fnatic trigger Foxy's util. Meanwhile, Foxy holds out in short. Fnatic begin to rotate away to reclear some space on the map, and Gen G follows suit. The Gen G Deathball gets contact in front B and wins out, and here Foxy chooses to get moving. Since Fnatic are stacked around mid right now, Foxy reclaims the space around lobby to clear for any Fnatic inserts. Notice that he doesn't hard flank but just holds down this initial space after reclearing. In any case, Fnatic move C and fall to the fast flood from the ever-deadly GEN Deathball, marking the start of GEN G's prospective comeback with a very convincing pistol win. Before we move on to some more typical GEN default rounds, let's talk a bit more about what Foxy's doing here. Notice the timing Foxy uses to move. He waited until not only his turret had triggered, but until his team got deep contact in mid. By holding onto Lobby, Foxy enabled his team to rotate in towards C because now he's holding deep information. Notice also that he waits until the exec starts to go for his flank. This is because as a player holding this kind of information, his life is much more important than a potential kill. By re-clearing previously Fnatic-owned space, Foxy really enabled his team to hard rotate into the correct site. After an easy enough win in the anti-eco, we now arrive at GEN G's bonus. Since the anti-eco was so clean for them, GEN G's buy is solid coming into the bonus with some good rifles and good util to work with. Fnatic have a standard enough anti-bonus buy with full rifles and a couple weaker shields sprinkled around to make ends meet. This round, we're seeing a more standard look from Foxy. He places turret here in front C, where it can cover the lines into long and through garage, with a molly for the long C exit as well. His alarm bot is front B to enable Munchkin to rotate around more freely. Foxy's final molly he likes to play here in front garage after the barriers drop. This setup enables Foxy to play hard for fights in garage and front C rather than just sitting backside and waiting for a hit to come in. He can molly garage to fight against drone or double tap fights in there too. Munchkin also places orb here to synergize with this style. Having a smoke and molly pre-placed in long C means GEN G always have solid reactive stall there to give them time to rotate. Over at A, Karon and Ashe plan to make a play of their own. Karon is TPing through long to outscale the potential Omen smoke at bricks and surprise Fnatic players playing lobby with his quick scaling into that space. Ashe is here to break any darts and support Karon's move into this space so they can establish clean control at A. As for Fnatic, their plan is to play a standard 1-1-3 with the same long A clear before softening up the rest of the map in a slower round. Crashies also uses a shock dart lineup to break Foxy's alarm bot and destroy some of their passive information. This round will be all about GEN G's push-pull style and how Foxy plays fluidly around the space on C to counter pressure and get picks for the team. Fnatic lead with a smoke and Omen TP short, as well as their dart and some fake Yoru pressure in long. Meanwhile, Karon's already managed to scale up long A and claim a threatening line into lobby. First contact goes down at lobby and it's a trade of Kayak's life for Karon's. Now that Fnatic have established the pressure of killing GEN G's long player, Alpha swings into long C to take down Foxy's default turret and establish pressure there as well. At this stage, GEN G are in a dire situation. Since GEN G are now pulled between the pressure on both extremities, Chronicle goes poking around in mid and finds a pick on texture, only to be traded out by Munchkin as he tries to capitalize. Foxy decides to go for a play at C in case of the move there. He tucks close left on the long C exit. This position gives him an off angle to tax potential execs through garage, as well as synergizing very strongly with Munchkin's default orb, which sticks out from main and gives Foxy a cubby to play if needed. Pressure comes garage, which Foxy stalls with his molly to give Munchkin time for the rotation, and now it's all Foxy. Crashies' drone fails to clear him, so Foxy moves onto a nicer off angle. Alpha falls, and Foxy safely makes it backside with GEN G's newly claimed man advantage. As Fnatic desperately try to clear Foxy for the late plant, Munchkin finds perfect timing into garage to clean things up.
Hitting him, but it doesn't matter. It seems as Munchkin in the perfect place at the perfect time.
Rounds like this are why front C is Foxy's playground on Haven. What's so impressive about Foxy's play on this map is how he manages to keep control of two vital choke points at C, even when his deep passive information is taken away. Fnatic played this round nicely. They controlled the information on all lanes of the map from quite early on. What failed them was Kron's presumptuous walk through mid, even when Fnatic were in a phase where they could regroup and clear deeper with their remaining util, and the fact they assumed that just by breaking Foxy's util, they had forced him onto a more passive position despite the info control Foxy still had on C in Munchkin's orb. In the very next round, we get a look at how GEN G play their hard choke anchors on C despite not playing hard for rotations in that direction. This round, GEN G are sitting on great money, but Fnatic are forced to eco after losing the anti-bonus. Fnatic's plan is to use their same default A pressure but pivot quickly towards mid and C to take down Foxy's passive pressure earlier. That way, maybe they can find some nice timing to get isolated kills with their weaker weapons. Over at the Gen G camp, Foxy switched things up again. This round, the mollies are the same, but his turret's garage and he places his alarm bot deep main C for early info there. On A, Karan and Ash are playing things close to the chest to play to their gun advantage. Starting up, it's same old from Fnatic. Smoke, TP, dart. But this time, Crashies is quick to pivot for mid while Boaster and Kayak look to develop their pressure at A. Meanwhile, Kron has already broken the alarm bot at C. Boaster pulls a smoke from Karan in short, and Fnatic start looking to pivot away into mid. A reclear drone from Ash finds Kayak, so Gen G start to believe that it's an A lean. Fnatic are fast to capitalize on that with a fake smoke and TP which pull the extra rotator on and trigger Munchkin's wall. It's a pretty big win so far for Fnatic. Now, it's time for Fnatic's exec attempt. Boaster smokes C-Link where he knows Gen G's B player will be since Munchkin rotated, and TP's on with cover util from the rest of the team. Unfortunately, the stall from Munchkin's molly keeps Fnatic from following up, and Boaster dies attempting to bail. Luckily enough, as the B hit came in, Kron had broken Foxy's turret and triggered the nano in garage, so Fnatic have a fast pivot option into C. From plat, Foxy takes down Kayak and falls to Kron, while Texture puts down Alpha looking for garage timing. Some clean trading from Munchkin and Texture cleans up the round from there. There are a lot of very important notes we can take from this round on how Gen G holds C. Fnatic's fast pivot was definitely ahead of Gen G's rotations, but Foxy and the other rotators held down the garage exit gorgeously to keep Fnatic hard choked and prevent anyone from making it to site. First, we can see how Foxy tugs plat where he can isolate the fight on the garage exit as the pivot comes in. At the same time, look at Texture. He holds down the garage walk until the actual hit comes in to limit Alpha's timing but still enable himself to swing into sight and keep Fnatic at bay. Once Alpha's been handled, Munchkin and Texture are in prime possession to swing and clean up. If Fnatic want a prayer at stopping Gen G from taking this lead, they'll need to come up with some answers fast. In this round, we'll see how Fnatic look to adapt. To start up, they're looking for a similar A lean, but to develop that A pressure more before pivoting. Meanwhile, Kron's on a solo mission pretty much just to annoy Foxy. As for Gen G, Foxy's playing a familiar setup, just with the alarm bot front garage while Karan sits top C on an off angle to reinforce the long C defense. Texture's got the op out to guard long A with Ash's support. One classic Fnatic round start later, Texture is forced into a tighter angle at A to avoid being double swung. Kron's getting more confident with the early pressure now, so he's quick to swing and take down Foxy's turret. Kayak finds a clean timing on Texture and long A is Fnatic's. The pressure in long forces Gen G to rotate around and Munchkin commits towards site. At this point, Fnatic decide to double down on their pressure here, especially since Kron's early turret break will be holding some of Gen G's resources at C. Crashies drones and clears Ash, and with front sight secure, Fnatic hit the site.
Undercut Paranoia, both gonna be sent. Ash waiting to try to regain his util, turns from the flash. Some shots coming through, the wall gonna be raised. The poster after Sewer able to find that kill. Now the neural attempt is gonna be lobbed in as well. The reveal is there, Munchkin.
With sight down and in the 2v5, Foxy and Karan are forced to walk away and concede. While Fnatic's exec here was pretty cool, I'm more interested in the setup and how they abused Gen G's rotation habits to win the round. By the time Texture had gone down in long A, Foxy's turret had also been broken. Gen G's rotation style into their extremities when there are multiple lanes of pressure will always look something like this, because Munchkin prefers to play for the flood rather than overcommit to the hard hold. That's exactly what happens at A. Anchor formations like this are pretty common in this map state. The Sova player holds short to scout for double pressure, and one player sits back sight to form a cross as the hit comes in. Crashies' drone pathing is a direct response to this hold. By pathing his drone this way, rather than backside, he completely pressured Ash away and enabled Boaster to move in short and got the exec moving. By simply double pressuring the extremities, Fnatic was sure Gen G weren't stacked 3 on A when they hit and capitalized gorgeously. This is Fnatic's adaptation. Gen G now have to figure out how they'll adapt back and how to deal with Kron terrorizing Foxy's passive information. In round 18, Fnatic have some money building. Meanwhile, Gen G are still sitting on their windfall from the start of the half. Gen G are looking at some nice ults to spend this round and put momentum back in their favor. Their adaptation to Fnatic is to put some extra reinforcement on top of Foxy's turret in the form of texture and have Karan make his TP play again in long A. Since it's a 2-1-2, Munchkin has his trusty alarm bot with him to provide more freedom of movement. Fnatic are planning, you guessed it, some early A pressure. Let's see how GEN adapt to Fnatic's extremity pressure. Starting up, Fnatic spend their usual util at long A, and Kron instantly cams main C, forcing texture to hide and try to time a swing in. Kron manages to get the turret and narrowly escapes before textures swing in, so GEN lose out at C. Meanwhile at A, Karan's play yields another 1-for-1. At the same time, Crashy shock darts the alarm bot at B, and Kron starts looking garage to ramp up some more pressure. Munchkin is quick to drop his pit at long A to stop Fnatic from developing their pressure again like last round. Foxy tucks garage on the read that while Fnatic are at A, Kron will look to increase the pressure as much as possible to give them rotation options, especially now that there's a pit on A. His bet pays off, and off the back of that one kill, Fnatic have no space to work with anymore and are forced to try their hand at A. By abusing the new off angle his pit creates, Munchkin swings out into Fnatic's attempted short exit and cleans up, putting our score back to even. Despite Foxy's turret still going down early this round, his read and movement into garage made him the perfect role player here. By finding Kron and taking him down as Fnatic were looking to rotate away from Munchkin's pit, he used their active A pressure against them and limited their options and information to force Fnatic into a weak A move. Being able to manipulate the information on the map while the attack is leaned elsewhere is a massive part of the Senti role, and here it proved round winning. The final round we'll be looking at today is round 19. Here, we'll see the crystallization of GEN's anchor tech on C and why Fnatic have had to lean so hard into their early A pressure to compete on that side. Foxy is playing his default turret and looking to protect it this time, as well as having Karan play on the off angle at topside C to catch any players looking to walk C long on timing. Texture's trying his hand at opping long A again. As for the attack, Fnatic are switching up their A clear to focus on taking control of long faster with a smoke at bricks to enable their players to pivot around and lean away. Fnatic lead with their dart in short A, a smoke at bricks, and a flash to cover Karan's potential TP play. As the smoke clears, Ash drones back into long to get texture back on the good line. But Kayak and Boaster have cleverly hidden from the drone. Texture misses his flick and is forced to retreat with only 10 HP to his name. From that big win in long A, Alpha takes his timing on Foxy's turret and Fnatic converge in on mid to test that space. Since mid's been a blind spot for GEN for some time, Karan keeps front B smoked. Fnatic choose to test garage and their drone trades for Foxy's molly. Alpha falls trying to find some timing to set up their C split. Fnatic move to test B again before deciding C is the best option and look to hit again through garage. Now, Karan and Foxy are in a familiar ankle formation. Foxy chooses to use his second molly to prevent that garage exit, and Karan's ready with a blind too. As the hit comes in, Karan's blind zones off the players behind Kayak's entry, giving Foxy time to find that frag. Fnatic are now stuck on that same garage choke again. With Munchkin's orb active, Foxy and Karan set up a good cross which keeps the Fnatic players pinned on that exit before Munchkin shows up to clean up the remnants. Again, Fnatic could scarcely even get a foot on site before they got massacred on their C hit. There's a lot of fluidity to how GEN play the macro of these rounds and use Foxy's util to stall. Alpha went down as a direct result of GEN's conditioning Fnatic to believe that their long C hold was weak. Foxy stole at garage to counter Crashy's drone was a direct adaptation to how Fnatic have been pressuring GEN off A, then pivoting after limiting their information. By reacting to Crashy's drone with the molly, Foxy reset the drone's information and forced Fnatic to re-clear garage and gave GEN time to rotate around to set up that garage cross and flood. Overall, Foxy's abilities as a role player improved massively in 2025, and it's games like this that demonstrate just how. His ability to move fluidly around the space on C to keep Fnatic guessing and adapt to the map state his team were dealing with give us a glimpse into how the Senti role can do more than just sit backside and pop defensive util during an exec to brawl. 4 rounds later, GEN have taken down Fnatic and earned an early lead against EMEA's Titans. By the end of the series, they're advancing through playoffs. In the next stage of VCT, teams from all regions are stealing GEN's Haven comp after GEN showed the world how it's played. We've seen today how Foxy played the Sentinel role and how GEN played around that to create a devastating Haven defense. There's a reason why Fnatic only managed 1 plant at C all offense. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of some of this year's most stellar Sentinel play. Hopefully you've learned some useful tricks to level up your own play. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I hope you have a lovely day.
Battles are won by geniuses, and I am a genius. So